We are supposed to be social. We are social entities. We are social creatures. Amongst all the other creatures, we have the privilege of actually talking to each other instead of just communicating with voice or signs and so on and so on. We do ourselves a disservice not to engage in conversations. Conversations can fix a lot of things. They can find a lot of opportunities. They can find a lot of solutions. If not 100%, probably 95% came out of a conversation. My friends, my connections, my colleagues, even work opportunities, they all came from some form of a conversation.
Hi guys, welcome to another episode. Today we have Ramin Shadmehr, a LinkedIn connection, and Dean of Fine and Applied Arts of Kaplan University.
Hi, how are you?
Hi, good. How are you?
Not bad. Start of the new year. So this is literally one of the very first thing I'm doing.
Yeah.
Actually, you know what? You are different. This interview is literally the first working thing that I'm doing in 2025.
How does that feel?
It's good. Like I always prefer to start, not the new year, like basically a start of everything should be with a conversation, just to see how things have happened before in the past, what are the lessons to learn from, and what is the plan going ahead. So I think it's always good to start almost everything, even in the new year, with a conversation.
Why is conversation so powerful between two parties?
It doesn't have to be parties. Like, well, when you say parties, I believe you mean two people.
Individuals.
Yeah, two individuals. Like, it could start from there. Conversations could be like, you could be in a whole large networking event and you talk to so many people. But it is important because it actually, it's kind of like ironic. Conversation speaks to our humanity. So we are supposed to be social. We are social entities. We are social creatures. And amongst all the other creatures, we have the privilege of actually talking to each other instead of just communicating with voice or signs and so on and so on. When we have that, it's just, we do ourselves a disservice not to engage in conversations. Conversations can fix a lot of things. They can find a lot of opportunities. They can find a lot of solutions. For me, almost everything I did came out of a conversation. If not 100%, probably 95% came out of a conversation. My friends, my connections, my colleagues, even work opportunities, they all came from some form of a conversation.
How do you approach, for example, a work conversation? What is the structure that you follow if you do?
Sometimes you don't need to actually have a structure because, so here's a problem. Well, okay, you know what? Not a problem. Here is some people, and I used to do this as well. I literally I used to plan before meeting someone. And that actually almost backfired every time, because not every plan goes as you plan it. So when someone really makes a plan and they badly want to stick with that plan and a structure, they may miss on opportunities. And in my case, I do actually do kind of like prep. So for example, I go to a lot of networking events in North Van Chamber of Commerce, in Greater Vancouver Board of Trade, meeting with ministers, meeting with civic and provincial, and even federal politicians. Yeah, I prepare. I don't plan. I prepare. I don't structure. If it's someone I'm meeting for the first time, I definitely Google the hell out of them just to see what are their interests. Is there any of those interests have any kind of like commonality with mine? And then I keep those in mind and I start a conversation with those interests. I start the conversation with the common goals. And from there, when two people identify their common interests, you don't need a plan. It just goes. It just flows. So that's basically what I usually do. Like even in the conversation with yourself, I noticed a couple of common interests. In the networking event, we met each other. There you go. It starts from there. And after that, we never plan. I didn't plan anything. I don't know about you, but it just flew from there.
Yeah, exactly. Being flexible in the conversation and going from there. But you mentioned that you've met many various people from different sectors. Can you speak about what different people from different sectors have in common and what they don't have in common, or just speak about like maybe politicians or anything you've noticed in your conversations with them?
So when you are talking to people, let's just say when you talk to people in tech, okay, so the common interest is already there. The advancing technology is the common interest. You talk about AI, everyone has something to say. There you go, common interest. You're there. With politicians, affordability, like even the one that caused the unaffordability, that is your common interest because that's something you're interested in. But here's another one. It's always good to be involved with the ones that you have common interest in, but you should not ignore the ones that you don't. So, like regarding networking, sometimes, like even my wife sometimes says, why you go to a networking event that is about shipbuilding? Like CSPAN was sponsoring a networking event with Vancouver Board of Trade and North Van Chamber of Commerce. I did go there. Do I work in the shipbuilding industry? Definitely no. But I was curious about the technology behind it. And definitely people who are involved in developing that technology have common interests with me. I may not be a shipbuilder, but I may know how to develop a program that could potentially streamline the process. So I like to get in touch with those people. So it's a really, how would I say, for me, it came with a learning curve. Again, like when I was a student, I was planning like really crazy. And I was getting upset that the conversation did not go as I planned it. Not knowing that it's not even supposed to go as you planned it. The mistake I made was actually planning for the conversation. You cannot plan a conversation, especially for people who you do not know. Like, what are the odds of that actually goes as you plan it? So, yeah.
Very rare. But yeah, basically like stay curious and when you're meeting others.
Exactly. You just hit the nail on the head. Stay curious, find the direction, and be willing to pivot. You pivot in life, you pivot in conversation, you pivot at work. People need to pivot. Rigidity kills. Rigidity breaks. The moment you are rigid, get ready to be broken. But if you're fluid, if you are nimble, if you are flexible, and you can tolerate turns and pivots, you will go through the path, no matter how hard it is.
Your career spans multiple roles in education and digital technology, from founding an English language institute in Iran to becoming a dean at the Kaplan University. What unexpected lessons or pivotal moments have shaped your professional journey?
Yeah, good call on that pivotal moment. Actually, all of them were some form of a lesson and pivotal moment. So if you don't mind, I'm just going to go back a bit. When I was 8, I was in my culture. I know it sounds ridiculous, but you know this as well. Our parents are to blame. By the time that you are 7, basically when you finish grade 1 of elementary school, you are supposed to choose your career. And not any career. And you have only 3 options. You are either a doctor, a medical doctor, not just any doctor, medical doctor, or an architect, not even an engineer, an architect. And the third option is a lawyer. And funny thing is, when I was 8, my family members, I don't think my parents actually asked me that question, but I had uncles ask, so Ramin, what do you want to become? I don't know. And I was 8. How would I know what I want to become? And that was kind of odd for them. And I didn't know that until back in 91, and I actually owe this to a really good friend of mine, who introduced me to computer games. I remember back in the day when I was probably 10 or 11, I saw the first Commodore 64 and 128. I was like, oh, these are cool things. Even though that ridiculous tape had to be loaded and it sounded like so bad, I was waiting literally 15 minutes for that thing to load so we can play a ridiculous game on Commodore 64. But here's that first pivotal moment. It was just after World Cup 1990. We were playing a game called Italy 90. It was a soccer game. Very funny, ridiculously looking. But at that time, it was awesome. We finished a couple of the tournaments, and then I saw the credits going up on the screen. I was like, oh, it says developer 1, developer 2, and there are names on them. Oh, so people can actually make money developing this. I want to do that. That was the first time that I realized, okay, that's kind of like my interest. But again, back home, the problem was you should have been extremely good in mathematics and a whole lot of other number-related courses to be able to even get into the computer science. And I wasn't one of them because the way I was taught mathematics did not click with me, and I was failing. Like my mom is actually here, and we were remembering a lot of things. I said, I got 5 out of 20 on algebra in high school. 5 out of 20. That is even below F. That's how bad I was. But anyways, I finished my high school diploma. I got something that they called back then not even science, kind of like social science or bioscience, something like that in high school. It wasn't mathematics. I ended up in industrial management degree just because I didn't want to go to the military service. But I started learning comp sci on my own. I got a tutor, started learning GW Basic, literally one of the very basic programming languages. Then I continued with Pascal, then C++. More I learned, funny thing is, my mathematics, algebra, physics, they all got better because then they clicked. And that was another pivotal moment. So I went back to a study on my own. Okay, now I'm going to actually read and study mathematics this way, through game building, through programming. And it worked. And it still does work. So I can say easily that everything was some form of a lesson, some form of opportunity. And funny thing, if someone says, how did you plan to become a dean? I did not plan it. Everything just happened because an opportunity presented itself. I was like, maybe I should pivot. Maybe this is it. It looks good. It connects. Like in my whole life, even my dad told me this many, many times. I was not a studying type in my family. And I was always being compared to my cousins who were geniuses on paper. My dad always like, in my whole life, I would not think of. You are the one that make a living off academia. Yeah, he was right. I even moved to Canada because I wanted to be a game developer. I wanted to work at Electronic Arts, which I did. But again, I was at Electronic Arts. opportunity came to start my own business. Who brought the opportunity to me? My boss at Electronic Arts said, it's now the right time to start your own business. And I did. I listened to him. A lot of times, I think I grabbed on the opportunity that was presented to me because someone saw something in me. Even studying, like going to university. I came here to study comp sci at SFU. Halfway through, not half, like maybe a year in, one of my profs said, I think this is the wrong program for you. And I asked him why. He was like, you seem quite creative. And I see even in your assignment, you are doing a lot of creative work with programming. Maybe, have you seen the interactive art program? I'm like, no, what is it? Introduce me to it. I looked at it and thought, okay, he's right. He's not wrong. This seems the right move. And I did it. I was very happy. My master's, same thing. I finished building a game with my business partner back in 2011. One of my old profs saw it, and he's like, there's a huge educational component into this. I'm like, okay, tell me more. Conversation. And he said, have you thought about doing your master's in imaginative education? And I'm like, didn't even know it existed. Studied it. I started it in 2012, finished it in 2014. Very, very funny thing. 2-3 years later, the same shindig happened. Another prof was, tell me about your work. Because at that time I was teaching at BCIT. I was teaching technical arts. I was teaching 3D modeling, animation, and game development. She was one of my good profs in my master's, actually. We were having coffee and she's like, okay, tell me about your teaching style. And I started telling her. She's like, oh, so you have autistic students? I'm like, yeah. How do you feel about that? I'm like, it's a struggle, but I actually studied a lot of things about how to teach them. So I'm good now. And she's like, have you looked into our educational technology doctoral program? Again, same conversation. What is that? And I ended up into it. 6 years later, actually, I defended 2-3 weeks ago. So I think all of them were some form of a lesson, some form of an opportunity, some form of pivotal moment. Did I plan for some of them? I didn't plan for them to happen. I planned for executing them. When opportunity came, then I started planning. When a lesson was learned, I started planning. I didn't plan for the lesson to happen, though. A lot of people actually, and again, I'm not saying they are wrong. Maybe it works for them. They say, oh, I want to do this by this time. Okay, good for you. If you can actually do it, great. But don't get disappointed if you don't end up doing it because you did your best, but other variables did not let you. Because again, like sometimes there are variables that are not in your control. That's where you need to pivot. That's where you need to learn a lesson.
I see a trend here. I mean, this is fascinating. I see a trend that people tell you about their opinions and you actually listen. You listen to, if they have a valuable opinion, you listen and you really consider it and you pivot most of the time. That ability is very important to be able to listen to your surroundings and don't think that you're always the best and pinnacle. Mm-hmm. Where did you get that from? Were your parents like that a bit?
My parents were, but I can attribute most of that to my dad, because my dad is he is still actually the coach of the national team of track and field in Iran, and as a coach, he needed to learn as he was teaching, and seeing that someone, like I was a kid when I was witnessing actually he going above and beyond what a normal coach of track and field in Iran would do. I could not think, I'm pretty sure no other coach was bringing almost 20 of his students to his own house to watch like those ridiculous Super 8 tapes of athletes in US or Canada run, jump, and so on and so. And he was teaching them. And funny thing, I was actually part of those conversations too as a 5-year-old. I think that showed me that you always have to listen, learn, and make a decision. Our culture, and I'm not blaming the culture just because it's mine, no. But for millennia, we were taught, or we were raised by, we know everything. And if we don't know everything, it's a weakness. I actually put that aside. Even when I was a lot younger, I put that aside. At the same time, because I was learning constantly, I became quite argumentative. So if you have an opinion, and based on my knowledge is false, I still like to learn from you, but I will debunk false statement as well. So, and for a while, that actually, I didn't know how to do it. So it kind of backfired. But funny thing is, when I came to Canada, I learned a lot from other cultures. I learned from my Chinese friend, my Israeli friends, actually from my Palestinian friends. And interesting enough, we were all in the same group. Different cultures that outside of Canada, the governments are headbutting, but we were playing soccer, we were playing chess, we were going out to drink and eat and talk. And I started learning from all of them. And I was like, okay, I cannot be rigid. I should accept that I never know everything, but I should always not accept false statement. So learning is good. Conversation, guided conversation, understanding conversation helps. Because again, learning is good, but sometimes we so rely on that, we think what we learned is the truth. And we are not willing to unlearn it. I learned a lot of things that were bad. I know I did, especially when I was growing up. Unlearning them was a little bit difficult. Like, for example, I started learning piano when I was a kid. My first teacher, not a good one. But for a year, I learned everything that was not supposed to learn playing piano. And then we got a really good teacher. And he was like, oh, this kid needs work. He needs to unlearn. And I couldn't. It was difficult for me. But here it was a lot easier, because I realized this multicultural environment here really allows us to be flexible, be nimble, and learn the way that is to our benefit. And you know what? Maybe all of this that I said, you can throw it away, but keep this one. Learn not to compete. Learn to get better. Because a lot of times we learn because we want to beat someone. Like even when we go to the gym, we are learning how to have a better lifestyle, but the goal is off. They say, no, I want to be better than him or better than her. Be better version of yourself. Like I used to, when the first time I was planning to lose weight I was like, oh, I really need to be fitter than my friend. Okay, no wonder I failed. The second time, I got a private coach. He said, no. Compete with yourself. Always try to be the better version. Now, I go to a gym. It is a competitive gym, by the way. Like they have like apps everywhere. They show your heart rate, who is doing better, who got a splat point and whatnot. Oh yeah, I don't say the name because I'm not getting paid by them. So, but here's the thing: I never look at it. I look at only mine. I'm like, oh okay. Last time I ran a mile, 12 minutes. Now I did 11. That was one of my happiest moments. Now my goal is to do 1050. Now then it's going to be 1040. And that learning, unlearning, conversation, all of that together really helps. Really helps to build that fluidity that you need. And am I fluid as I like to be? No. Funny thing is, still a lot of my friends, they actually say it. We don't believe when you say you're fluid. They may be right. My voice is quite deep and my tone is always seem to be aggressive, maybe even now. And it has an optic. Now, funny thing is, people tell me that. I learned. I used to be a lot worse. A lot worse. I used to speak and people thought, probably I'm going to punch them in the next sentence. Oh yeah. And I learned. I even got a coach to teach me how to manage my tone. Like basically, you need to do this instead of kind of like a aggressive monotone. I actually had to unlearn that speaking fast doesn't mean you know it. I had to unlearn it. So these were a lot of variables that you can only, you just need to open up and receive them. When you receive them, then you have a chance to pick and choose. But if you're not open, you don't receive anything and you stay the same thing.
Definitely. I'd have to agree. And in your story, right? You went towards the beginning, you went towards the end. At the middle, I didn't get. So you finished high school in Iran, came here, and you started a business with your business partner in the middle of that. It's kind of, if you can just paint the full picture for us.
Yeah, sure. Okay, yeah. Now I see I was a little bit off. So, yeah, when I was at the EA, I was still a student too. So back in 2008, if you recall, there was a massive financial collapse, especially in US. That was a time that I started seeing people are leaving EA with box in their hands. I was like, okay, your time is coming, so just be ready. And when my boss came to me and he said, I need to talk to you, I was like, oh crap, it is time. And he's like, remember, no, don't worry, I'm not gonna lay you off. We need you actually. But based on the financial situation of the company, EA at that time, and potential opportunities outside in the market, I recall you said you like to start your own business at some point. I think it's time. It's not a bad time. Leave EA, and you're going to graduate in 6 months as well. It's a good time to start a small startup. Take projects from bigger companies. You're a good artist. You're a good technical artist. That's what I was called, technical artist. I took his advice. I had a really good friend and a classmate. He graduated a year after me, though. But when I talked to him, he was like, "Yeah, I'm not really up for it now, but maybe after I graduate." I started the business in 2009, actually. Like literally in 2009, I started the business, and it was just to build small apps and games for Android. As well as Apple, actually. And I did a couple. They were fairly successful. My friend graduated. I came back to him. I was like, you want to partner up? And he said yes. And but this guy is a genius. Like, he is literally one of the best programmers I ever seen. And he and we started working together. We had I had a 2-bedroom apartment at that time. 1 bedroom was literally our office. He was coming in sometimes until 4 a.m, and it was really fun. working that way. And year after year passed by. At the same time, I got hired by BCIT to teach, and then I became a full-time program head there. Funny thing, to be close with my partner, I then hired him to teach at BCIT. And we got so close that in 2020, his idea of doing the kind of like having some form of a leadership / mentorship for underrepresented group in tech sectors. He called it Techies of Tomorrow. I'm like, that's actually not a bad name. Let's rebrand. We rebranded our business. We called it Techies of Tomorrow in 2020, in the midst of COVID. And our goal was to hire, not just hire, like hire co-op and practicum students from underrepresented groups, women, LGBTQ, BIPOC. Like, you want to be in tech, but for some odd reason, the doors are closed. Let's see how we can provide that opportunity. So through our connections, because we were in business at that time, it was almost 10 years. We had a whole roster of clients. So those clients get us projects, and we said, okay, these are small projects. Here's the fund from the client. The fund goes to all of those students and practicum students that are working. Through that, then we ask those clients to even mentor our students as well. That really picked up. Now the company is, we actually partnered with another company called Roughly Design, and it's a lot bigger now. And but the mission is still the same. Funny thing is, my partner and I, we got so close, he is now actually the godfather of my son. So this is actually how kind of like the business thing is started. Now, a lot of people say, how do you do that? It's too much time. Like, I just like doing it. Sometimes you don't do things because you need. Sometimes you do it because you want to. It gives you the pleasure you seek. So that's how I love the job I do as a dean. I literally love it, even though a lot of people say, oh, we heard deans are technically always between a rock and a hard place. Well, no, I don't see it that way. Same thing here. In my business, I come home, it's in the evening when my son goes to bed. My worker starts dealing with clients, dealing with businesses, talking to my teammates. So, yeah, it's fun. That's basically how the whole business thing started and continued.
That's awesome. It seems that you get to the heights quite fast. Like even in BCIT, you got to a head position quite fast. And now you're the Dean of University of Capilano. How do you maneuver yourself to position to get to these heights in a short amount of time, from my perspective? Or like, what's your approach to getting promoted in a way?
I don't see it as, well, technically, I don't see it as promotion. So let me share the whole BCIT thing. I started teaching at BCIT, I believe it was October 2010. And I found it actually quite fascinating. That was not my first crack at teaching, but it was my first time teaching 25 students at the same time. I used to teach at private colleges, 10, 11 students. Very specialized courses. But BCIT was different. And the whole kind of like a polytech nature of BCIT was what drove me to interdisciplinary approaches, into networking. My networking went to the roof because of BCIT. Like, they are still involved in Board of Trades. They are still involved in a lot of networking events. I still get in touch with my former BCIT colleagues. And the good thing about it was I didn't plan it, or I didn't aim for it. The opportunity again presented itself. I was a part-time, what they called back in 2010 was part-time study instructor, PTS instructor, teaching only 3 courses. I was not full-time. I had my own business as well, so I was busy already. And then the associate dean at that time, Laura actually was her name, she, in one of the department meetings, she was like, we are being approached by a lot of tech businesses about they need certain type of talent that knows programming and digital art behind it. I'm like, I am a technical artist. That's what I used to do at EA. So based on my experience, based on my learning, I was like, okay, let's put those together. Then I went to her. I said, which companies actually came to you? I got their names. I went to them and talked to them. I love visiting businesses, by the way. I love it. Like, even right now, if anyone wants to send an invitation, please do. I went there. I talked to them. I said, what is it actually you're looking for? Apparently, there was this conversation. And they told me what was it that they were looking for. So gradually, I worked with other faculty members. A team was built, actually, by BCIT Digital Arts Department. A team was built. I was one of the contributors. That, okay, we are developing a program called Digital Design Development. I think that development started late 2010, early 2011, and 2012, we launched the Digital Design Development Program. And they said, okay, new program needs a program head. Who wants to do it? I applied. I was interviewed. And being one of the contributors to the program development, it helped. And that was basically how I became a program head. The dean side of it, every once in a while, again, through networking, I share what I do with people. After networking, I email almost every single person that I found common interest and I was having conversation with. I actually did the same thing with you, actually. So they come back once in a while. They say, oh, by the way, there is this position. Or there is that. Or there's this opportunity. Are you interested? Sometimes I am. So I look into it. The KHORVASH one was very, very interesting. I got a call from my friend who was the dean of Fine and Applied Arts at Capilano. And he said, I'm going to Sheridan. I'm like, oh, good for you. And he's like, you're going to get a call from this search firm about my current job. He's like, oh, how come? He's like, well, I can't actually be at Sheridan and also at KHORVASH, so I left. But the search firm always asks, so who can we talk to? And anyways, the search firm called. We had a really nice conversation. I found it a really fascinating opportunity. And I said, sure, I apply. I applied. I went through interviews. Even the interviews were great opportunities. And I actually loved the fact that I went there for the whole day, met almost as many people as possible to share them my potential vision for KHORVASH and Fine and Applied Arts. And they had the opportunity to share with me what makes them tick, what makes them work better, and what are the obstacles. So, and I'm a still good friend with my predecessor. He is actually now back in Vancouver doing a much, much better role. Good on him, good for him, and good on him for introducing me to this opportunity. it's just, again, all of these conversations, as I said, they have a huge potential to bring you opportunities. And like you probably heard this as well. In our culture, in the Persian culture, a lot of these conversations, they are painted with kind of a darker picture that, oh, if you're not in their team, they don't give you job. Yeah, that is true. But why aren't you on their team? Why aren't you in that conversation? Why haven't you reached out to talk to them? It's a two-way street. Like even right now, a lot of times even my former students come to me. They say, are you okay if I share with you my cover letter? And I was like, sure. I had a student who 10 years ago, he graduated. He was one of our very first graduates of the digital design development program. He still comes to me and says, what are you thinking about this opportunity for me? And I'm like, all right, it makes sense. Based on what I know about you, this is not a bad move. Maybe you should try it. I never say you must do it or you must avoid it completely, because it is their call, not mine. But my job is to tell my friends, to people who reach out to me, just to give them the information they need to make a better decision. The decision making is on their end. Now, if they make the wrong decision, well, too bad for them. At least you contributed what you could have. But again, at the end of the day, it is all about, to answer your question again, it was all about those opportunities that came to me from the relationships I built.
I mean, it's amazing how you don't shy away from conversations and approaching others that you find interesting.
Actually, can I add something here?
Yeah, go ahead.
So this is very recent, very, very recent, like literally happened on December 29th, past Sunday. I used to dance Argentinian tango. Then I took a break about 10 years. I went back to it very recently. And there was a kind of a there was a year wrap-up tango event on 29th. I went there just to dance. That was apparently my sole purpose. And something interesting, and I actually shared that with other friends. They were like, you are the only person that does that. I'm like, okay, great. So anyways, I went to that event. I was dancing, and then I noticed this guy, actually kind of your age, this Lebanese dude, very sharp, very attentive to his work, and he was filming the event. I was like, okay, so based on his equipment, based on the way he is dedicating and arranging his time, he's a really good freelancer. I talked to him. I was like, you do freelance job, right? And he's like, yeah. I'm like, what's your rate? We discuss rate and so on. And I'm like, what is your availability like? And he's like, well, I do have projects, but I can make time. What are you thinking? I was like, well, I'm the dean at KHORVASH. We are redoing a lot of the content, a lot of videos. We may need an additional videographer to help our online engagement assistant person. And he's like, sure, let's chat. We exchanged numbers. We hooked up on LinkedIn then and there. And one of the first calls I had with him on New Year's Day was about, when can you come to KHORVASH to see the facility and maybe come up with ideas? And that actually happened on a tango dance floor. So I thought, okay, there is an opportunity to build a new relationship to potentially benefit both sides of that relationship.
That's awesome. I think there's a lot to be learned from the way you approach these situations. And I hope people can, get out there and don't lose opportunities then that arises to them.
I hope so too, yeah.
So can you paint for me a day in your life? What does a day look from when you wake up and when you go to bed?
I wake up, actually recently, my lifestyle, I think, got a little bit better because, as I said, I signed up for a really interesting gym routine because a lot of those good classes are early in the morning, like 6:45. So I used to wake up at 7, now I wake up at 6. And the day starts with a decent workout, hopefully, and a very light breakfast. Like, I don't know why people say breakfast is the most important meal of the day.
It's not.
Maybe it's for them, not for me. For me, lunch always was, because it's a good networking opportunity. I try to have a lot of lunch meetings because food opens up people. And at least you have a guaranteed 1 hour to have good conversation. But work, and then I go to the office. I really like to work on campus because, again, I love to see people around me. I love to have conversation with them. And hopefully, if my calendar on a given day is not filled up with meetings or deadlines, and I make sure sometimes those, what I call them, necessary blocks, not work blocks, necessary blocks. I even talk to my assistant sometimes that make sure my week has at least 3 of them. In those necessary blocks, I actually do walk around on campus. I try to hit every building and facility that we have to talk to our faculty and our staff, because visibility is a key, I think, in my job and in academia, actually. If you see your team member is there, it pushes you to do better. When I see my faculty, when I see our faculty and our staff there, it's an amazing feeling. And I'm sure they have the same feeling when they see me dropping by and saying hi instead of, here is a mass email in the morning, good morning, everyone. So, funny thing is, sometimes, even when I have online meeting, I always say, if you are on campus, I'll come to you. I'll come to your office. I even bring coffee if you like, if you need it. So that's kind of like my day is like. And then when I come back home, usually around 5, 6, a lot of times between 3 to 6, there is a networking event somewhere, sometimes twice a week. I do hit those as well, and then come back home, play with my kid, catching up with my wife, and late at night, if there is any energy left, I catch up with my business partner and my teammates in Techies of Tomorrow about, okay, what needs to be done on my end? Is there anything I can help with? What are the progress reports and so on? And so I actually do the finances of my company as well. So, like, that's kind of like a day life. Do I have a social life? Yes. Embedded in those networking events. So I do go out with friends as well, if and when they are available. But I tend to even use those networking events to catch up with my friends. I'm like, hey, I'm actually going to this event. You want to join? So kind of like hitting 2 birds with 1 stone.
Let's go to some structured questions.
Sure.
But that's great. What do you believe are the most critical skills for emerging professionals in the digital arts and technology sectors?
So if they are in those sectors, they already have the technical skills. So the other skills they need to have or at least look into practicing, are the soft skills. Programmers, game designers, even digital designers it's a stereotype which wrongly is painted. It may be true in some cases. It may have been true in the past. But we were painted as, oh, we are the ones that are in the corner and we are always in our cubicles and head down. That may have been true 20, 30 years ago, but it's not anymore. The conversations are constantly happening. And because of COVID, a lot of those conversations are going online. So when we used to teach our students in tech that, okay, you need to learn about the culture of how to present yourself in person, now we also need to teach them how to present yourself online. I actually I was coaching a few folks a while ago on how to do proper interviews on Zoom, because this guy came to me, he was like, I never failed in a job interview when it was in person, but every single Zoom interview I had, I failed. So I actually had to coach him how to do Zoom interview. So he had to unlearn a lot of things from in person. Those were bad? No. It's a different environment. So those people in tech need to look into practicing these new soft skills. Soft skills is not just communication anymore. Soft skill is how you are perceived by your audience and how you want to be perceived by your audience. Look into that first. Answer those two questions. How I want them to perceive me and how I'm being perceived. Because they may not be the same. I am not being perceived the same way I think I'm being perceived, actually. As I told you before, I think I'm a very calm, kind person. But when I talk, apparently I'm aggressive.
I don't think that's true, by the way.
But we'll see. Well, anyways, but again, that's what I'm saying, is we need to, in tech, actually, why in tech? Like in everything. We need to really understand the culture we are in and the culture we want to get in. Let's learn that. Let's adapt. Let's bring something to the table. Like, that's what I love about Canada. This multiculturalism allows us to bring what we have already to the table, put it beside other stuff that other people are bringing in, and let's have a really good group of items that now everyone can learn from. So proper communication, like if you are asking for just a specific skills, leadership skills, communication skills, verbally, written, and even written skills are different now. You have written skills that are casual emails to your friendly colleagues or formal emails to your managers. So or even how to attend department meetings, for example. There were situations, not in my faculty, but I heard that someone like literally forgot about unmuting when they wanted to blow off some steam when they heard something that they disagreed with. They forgot to press mute, and everyone heard the F-bomb. That person did not intend to share that publicly. They just wanted to blow off some steam. But again, that skill was missing. They forgot. Even the technology related to that communication skill, you learn it. It helps. A lot of people say, oh my God, Zoom is great. Team is crap. Okay. Share with me why. And a lot of times they don't actually have an answer. Like literally there is no answer. Why Team is crap and Zoom is great, or why Zoom is crap, Team is great. There's no answer. It's just the matter of, oh, I'm used to it, so it's better. But learn those technologies. A lot of time, I know colleagues, they're like, oh, you can do polls on Zoom? Yes, you can. You can also do it on Teams. You can also do it on Google Meet. You can also do it on a lot of things. Learn those technologies that can allow you to present yourself better, that can allow you to kind of like communicate better. What I like about the whole AI thing, I don't know if that was one of the questions that you wanted to bring up at some point. Use AI. Why not? Use AI, make a better portrait of yourself on LinkedIn. There's nothing wrong with that. If I kind of like make my nose smaller and totally become a different person visually, yeah, that's wrong. But I can definitely clean up a bit better. Sure, why not? Use AI to write a better intro of yourself on LinkedIn. Don't come up with lies, but correct the grammars. Correct the typos. You don't believe how many LinkedIn summaries I've read, and they are grammatically wrong, or there are so many typos.
The basics.
Yeah. So learn the technology, learn the soft skill, see where they combine, see where they're intertwined.
The natural question following the AI discussion is that, where do you see it coming in the educational sector? For example, do you see AI teachers coming and teaching a classroom?
Maybe.
Which has already happened, by the way, in Britain.
Actually, I started learning French. Like literally after I defended, next day I signed up.
2 weeks ago.
Actually, I defended on Friday the 13th. Like, it's really ironic. When I told my colleagues that, okay, I have a day off, I want to, oh, it's Friday the 13th. I'm like, so? Apparently Friday the 13th is a bad day. But anyways, that was the day. Saturday the 14th, I signed up to a couple of apps to learn French. Both of them are AI. Both of them are AI. They have even AI conversation options. Does it work? Yes. But I also got in touch with a couple of my French colleagues at KHORVASH, and I said, hey, can I ask you a favor? I started learning French. I need a person to correct me. Because at the end of the day, that machine is made by a person. So why not we go to that person? I'm not saying that my French colleague built that, for example, Babbel app. No. But the quality, the genuine feedback that is not calculated works a lot better. AI, at least at this time, maybe 10 years from now, they may actually be able to detect tone in a very genuine way. But only a person does that. A person can tell you, no, your tone is off. You sound even angrier when you're pronouncing that word in a certain way.
That seems to be a theme with you and like the way you speak, the tones and stuff. It's
so
funny.
AI can't give me that feedback. AI can only detect if I'm pronouncing it correctly. Right? A good friend, a good teacher can tell me, actually, the pronunciation you are doing, not only it's incorrect, the way you're pronouncing it, it's actually making the word an insult. Believe me, how many conversations I had with people, especially from my own country, they were pronouncing something in English that was an insult. And when I wanted to correct them, they said, no, this is how I learned. Well,
time to unlearn.
Exactly. So AI is coming, yes. Right now, the problem with it is because it's a new era, it's unknown, and that unknown brings fear. A lot of people are against it because they don't know it, and they have the right to be feared, to have the fear. they don't know it. It's like imagine, I don't know, you probably know your neighbor, but even if their house is like pitch black dark, most likely if the door is open, you're not going to go in because you're like, I don't know what's in there. So same thing with AI here. And because it's a machine, okay? Because it's a machine response, people don't trust it, and they have the right not to trust it. I use AI. I do use AI. But do I press send right away when it's generated? No. I read it. I add my own tone. So, for example, if I want to say, okay, I want to write a nice congratulatory letter to my colleague who just got an award, yes, I use AI, but I feed that AI what I think. I don't just say, write a congratulatory letter to my colleague for winning this award. No. I say, this is me. This is my relationship with this person. I know him for this many years. We work very close together. I give as much information as possible, sometimes longer than the letter I'm going to get.
Interesting.
Yeah. And even when the letter is generated, I read it. I'm like, no, that's not me. I fix it. That's why, actually, recently I wrote one for my business partner. And he was like, Ramin, that was so you. I'm like, just to let you know, I use our own AI platform to generate it, because our business actually created an AI platform, which is not a Gen AI, it's an assistive AI. But again, I don't digress. But the thing is, it is going to come. It is already here. Our students already using it. But how we can do it is, let's actually teach them how to use it properly. It's like when people were riding horses, I don't know, probably 300 years ago, a car came. Everyone feared it. Oh my God, there is a car with that massive noise, with that, and if it hits you, it's going to kill you. So it's bad. But then people have started learning how to drive cars, and cars are now everywhere. Same thing with internet. Same thing with social media. Same thing with every new tech. If you learn it and use it properly, it's useful. If you don't learn it and don't use it properly, it's harmful. Social media, useful in marketing, useful in sharing true information, but it's also used for false information. It's also used for misinformation. At the end of the day, we are the one behind it as people. So AI is coming into our education. It already is in our educational system. Some colleges banned it. Some colleges promoted it. SFU, I actually remember when I was going through my thesis, we actually did receive mass mail about how to properly use ChatGPT or AI engines to assist us with our research. They didn't prevent us. They said, but there is a new checklist on etiquette that you need to follow. Even in our research ethic board application, if we are using AI, we need to declare and we need to say, this is how I am using it. And then they can say, okay, yeah, sure, go ahead. Or no, you're going too far. Take it back a little bit.
If we can dive back into your business, right? What are the key lessons that you've learned in that? It's about 15 years now. That 15 years that you've operated your business with your business partner.
Is it 15 years? Jeez, yeah. The cliche answer is I learned a lot of lessons, but specific lessons, networking was the importance of networking was actually the lesson I learned at the very, very beginning. My business partner and I, we have not spent literally a dime on any sort of ads. We never spent a dime on any ads. Our only online engagement has been our website and our LinkedIn page. That's it. And everything else was word of mouth and networking. We are very much engaged in the Greater Vancouver Board of Trade. We make presentation there. I am actually on the advisory board for the Diversity Leadership Council in the Vancouver Board of Trade. Through that, again, you have an opportunity to share what you do in your business and hear from other business owners. So that was I can say that was the most important lesson I learned. And that's why I got so addicted to it. I saw the benefit. Not just to our business, to my personal life. A lot of my good friends are the ones that I met in networking. So yeah, that is definitely the most important lesson I learned. There were others, how to potentially identify a bad client, how to identify a good client. What are the signs? Those were also some valuable lessons, sometimes valuable even in financial sense. So, yeah. And actually, last one, prioritizing your own team. Take care of them, they will take care of you. That's the lesson I learned. One example was we had a bad client a couple of years ago. They did not pay for 6 months. And my business partner and I, we had to actually dip into our line of credit. At one point, we told our team 6 developers and designers, I said, guys, here's the thing. We are in this mess. We need you. We have a favor to ask. Feel free to say no, but we need your help to not pay you for another 6 weeks. And interesting enough, they all literally said, that's fine, without thinking. And I was actually having lunch with one of them. I was like, don't you think you guys were too fast? You didn't even think. They were like, there was no thinking. You and Henry took care of us for the last 3 years. We should be able to take care of you for 6 weeks. That was one of the happiest moments. And that's a lesson again. That take care of your team, they take care of you.
What motivates you?
Living. Because there's a difference between living and surviving. I used to think about life as a survival adventure. It's not. There is a huge component of joy. And one of the reasons I actually went back to dancing is this. I was like, okay, I need more joy in my life. I have a really good family. Great. I have a good job. Great. Now, I am doing this for what? For the joy. Why are we working? Because we want to enjoy life. So that is my motivation, to kind of like ensure the joy of life is there. So sometimes I always say, I actually had a recruiter approach me for a position, very well paid, by the way, very well paid. I basically said, no, that's not me. I'm not going to enjoy it. That joy is my motivation. If I enjoy the work, I'll do it. If I enjoy the conversation, I continue it. If I enjoy the conversation, there's no shutting me up. You probably sense that by now. But that joy is there. If it's not there, to me, there's no point even working or moving around. There's no point. Why are we traveling? Because we want to enjoy it. But if you're traveling and then you're always pissed about, oh my God, my hotel is this and the weather is that, why did you even do it? Like, I actually remember we went to Mexico last year. The last 2 days was raining down. The pool was empty. That massive pool in the hotel was empty. And right after the breakfast, I jumped in. To be honest with you, it was one of the best things I did. I'm like, look, it's just me now. I even tried to enjoy the fact that the sun is gone for that day. Massive amount of rain is coming. But I found the joy of floating on the water and allowing the raindrops hit your forehead so hard that you think someone is sticking a pin into your forehead. Just find that joy. And for me, that's always my goal. That's always my motivation. It makes it actually easier to enjoy life. That flexibility, that fluidity.
What challenges you?
Define challenge.
The question meaning that, for example, there's something in my life that I haven't figured out. It still is aching me. I need to figure it out. Or there is a goal that I'm striving for, but I haven't achieved it. It's challenging me. It's like...
The challenges... Well, right now, the stuff that are out of my control are the ones that actually challenge me. Some bad, illogical decisions made by others that is actually affecting my life and actually your life. I'm talking about politicians. That's the challenge I have right now, to be honest. That is one of the challenges I have right now. The unaffordability that is forced on our people. That is a challenge. That's my challenge too. I always feel that while I am enjoying my life, while my family is enjoying their lives, and I believe that we are doing okay, it pains me. People who used to be okay are not anymore. And that is a challenge. I can help some of them, and I do. But I'm only one person. That's again challenge. Basically what challenges me are the variables that I cannot control, but yet they affect my life, my family's life, my friends' life, others' lives, and we can't actually do much about them. And that's a challenge.
And lastly, what do you think is the meaning of life?
Joy. Back to joy. Because, so for example, right now, even in my head, I'm thinking, what makes me enjoy my lunch today? Like literally today. My brother is somewhere around here, actually. Should I go have a nice brotherly chat over lunch with him to enjoy my lunch more? Or should I just go to the nearby Save On Food, pick up some tuna poke bowl? So that's always in my head. How can I enjoy my moment? And I think, and that's what I learned actually over the last 20 years. That the goal is everything we do is to be able to have some form of joy in whatever form you pick. Like if someone is my accountant, our business accountant, this guy, you look at him, he is enjoying crunching numbers. He does it like he is addicted to it. he goes home at 11. And that's not even in the tax season. But he has so many clients. And I always tell him, Alex, why you have so many clients? Ramin, I love it. Like when he says he loves it, it's like he's talking to his love of his life. I'm like, good for you. If that's what makes you really enjoy, go for it. You enjoy. I can see this is joyful for you. You do this like when the first time I met you, you had that glow around you that, okay, I'm here. Now I actually want to talk to people and provide a platform for them to share. I see that joy in you. Same thing with me. For me, it's always like the goal at the end is reaching that joy. Because that is the only thing that is mine. How I enjoy life is in my hand. Everything I do, my goal is not to get a better job. My goal is always to enjoy my life more. Now, to get there, I may need to get a better job. I may need to work out. I may need to do X, Y, and Z. But at the end of the day, that is my goal.
Ramin, it was fantastic speaking to you.
Thank you very much, buddy.
And I wish you all the best in your endeavors.
Thank you very much.
Thank you guys for watching. We'll see you
care.
next time. All right.
Dude, that was good. Sorry I talked too much.
Yes.
I told you there's no shutting up.
What did you think?
Good.
You enjoyed it?
Definitely.